Hi, this is Mark Tupper from the Herald and Review Indicator. We are restarting our Facebook Live because our internet, for some reason, went a little haywire, and now we're back up and running. And I think we'll just start from the beginning again to try to give this a little bit of flow. But Klaus is who our first question came from, and he was talking about football, and he says, "Thanks for your content, really enjoyed it. Quick question: how do you think the defense compares to last year? Any improvement?" And I was saying, yeah, I mean, I hope so, because I don't think they were very good last year. But when you think about it, and I'm not making excuses for them, but with their late start, Lovey getting hired so late, and then trying to play catch up the rest of the way, players really on both sides of the ball have told me that it was mid-season before they were really understanding everything that they were supposed to be doing. And so I think there was a general lack of knowledge and of coordination. They tried to implement the defense and the offense and get things running smoothly. And so I think at least in year two, we should have a greater understanding of what assignments are and what terminology means and what the coordinators mean when they say to do this or do that. I think last year even there was times when guys were, you don't want to disappoint these coaches, so sometimes you're afraid to ask a question, and you think, okay, well, I think I know, I'm just going to go out there and wing it, and then you find out you were wrong, and maybe you should have asked the question. So I think we've got more people on the same page. That said, there's a number of freshmen they're going to play, so they're going to have to go through this for the first time. I'm mostly worried on the defensive line at defensive end. I think they're a little small there, particularly someone like James Crawford, who they list in their media guide at 225 pounds. They tell me he's 245. I'm not sure what size he is, but he's not real big. He looks like he could be pushed around and mauled by big offensive tackles, and that gets to the thing that worries me the most is, can they stop the run? Because if they can't, I think it's going to be a long season. So, and then he said, I've been reading that the offense looks better, but we are expected to run more than last year. Is there any validity to that? Well, that's what they want to be. They want to be a team that can run. I remember Garrick McGee, the offensive coordinator, his introductory press conference when Lovey hired him from Louisville. I remember him saying, we want to be able to run and run and run and make the defense tilt toward the run because they know we can do it, and then we'll throw over the top of them. But what he was saying was, this is what we want to be, not that this is what we are going to be in year one, because I don't think they were powerful enough on the offensive line to be able to run that way. And they remember they were still sorting through running backs. They started out with Keyshawn Vaughn, who has now transferred and left the program. They ended up with Kendrick Foster, who was a pretty good option for them and looked very good. The other problem that they have right now, it may not be a problem when the opener rolls around, is that two experienced running backs had yet to practice, Reggie Corbin and Dre Brown. Reggie Corbin sounds like and looks like he's about ready to join the mix. Dre Brown, I haven't seen anything from him. He went the same path as Mikey Dudek. Remember, 2 years of ACL injuries, 2 years of inactivity. I'm not sure if he's going to play. Lovey's not forthcoming on injuries, so we'll see. But he doesn't look like he's been very close to helping them at this point. But that's what they'd like to be. They'd like to be a team that runs as much as they want and passes because defenses commit to the run. Here's a question: how much will the injury to linebacker Jake Hansen hurt the Illini defense? Well, the lucky thing is linebacker's a position of depth. He got hurt last Saturday in a scrimmage. It looked bad. It is bad. It's an ACL tear. He'll have surgery. He'll miss the entire season. He has not redshirted. That's good news, so he can come back next year and still have his full allotment of eligibility. And they'll slide Julian Jones in there, and he's a really good runner. He's fat. Their linebacking group becomes faster. The reason Jake Hansen was starting is because he made no mistakes. He was really reliable, very smart, and savvy. So they'll be a little faster, maybe a little more mistake prone. What other injuries are you concerned about? I mentioned the two running backs, Reggie Corbin, Dre Brown. Jalen Dunlap, who should be their best defensive back, still had not practiced. Lovey said in Chicago, lower leg injury. He's in uniform. I watch him on the sidelines, but he's yet to put a helmet on. And then Verdarian Lowe, it looks like he's going to redshirt. He's a freshman offensive lineman, a big kid who looks like he could be really good, but probably won't be ready until 4 or 5 weeks into the season is what it looks like. And then this question. I hear Illinois is running into some pretty good players in the non-conference part of the schedule. What can you tell us? They play great quarterbacks 2 weeks in a row. In week 2 against Western Kentucky, their quarterback is named Mike White, same name as the former Illinois head football coach. 37 touchdown passes last year for a team that won a league. Much of his offensive line is not back. His two best receivers are not back. His best running back is not back. And only his head coach, Jeff Brom, is not back because he's now the head coach. But he is going to be a load to handle throwing the football. The more frightening situation occurs in the third week when they play South Florida, because their quarterback, Quentin Flowers, is amazing. I mean, go to YouTube, dial up Quentin Flowers, Quinton. Holy moly. I read where his 40-yard dash time was 4.57 seconds. When you watch him, he looks like a 4.37 guy. He is so fast, so elusive, has a great pump fake, and runs around the field. And he makes throws. He makes short throws, mid-range throws, and deep throws. That kid looks amazing. He's got to be maybe the best quarterback that people aren't talking about right now for the Heisman. And so they play those two guys in weeks 2 and 3. Another question before we get to the basketball question I got is, I see where the Big Ten tour bus was at Illinois practice this week. What did you learn from those guys? You know, the Big Ten Network sends this bus around with their in-studio guys. That would be Howard Griffith and Jerry DiNardo and Dave Revson. And they go to every training camp. This was their 13th stop. Then they went to Northwestern, so they're done now. But they want them to get a first-hand, eyeball-to-eyeball look at these teams. And it wasn't one of those guys I was talking to. It was another guy who was there. They have a big crew that travels with them, and I know this other guy. And I said, what have you seen? I mean, what shocked you? And I don't know if any of you have seen this reality show called Being P.J. Fleck. It's on ESPNU. This is the coach that used to be at Western Michigan, who's now the head coach at Minnesota. He is a 1,000-mile-an-hour energy guy who's a big self-promoter and a very good football coach. I'm not saying being a self-promoter is bad. That's part of the job. But he is the ultimate self-promoter. And I think everybody's kind of expecting that because Western Michigan was really good last year, surprisingly good, that he will have Minnesota being really, really good. He and one other guy told me that of all the camps they've been to, they walked out of Minnesota thinking they're not going to be anywhere near as good as people are saying. They think they could be very disappointing. That surprised me. The other thing they said was Wisconsin looks really good. They thought Ohio State looks the best team in the Big Ten. Wisconsin looks second best, better than Penn State, and clearly the best in the Big Ten West. So that was kind of interesting. And then one basketball question, and then a reminder about our podcast tomorrow. The basketball question was, I know we're nearly to Illinois football opener, but I'm more interested in Illini hoops. Anything new you can tell us about? Are the new players there yet? Illinois went through summer practices without two players, Mark Alstork, who is the transfer from Wright State. He arrives Friday, tomorrow. And then the freshman they recruited from Slovenia, Madic Vesel, he competed with his national team in Egypt, and he arrived yesterday and has to go through a quick orientation before he enrolls. Mark Alstork, when he gets here, quickly gets enrolled in graduate school. And then Brad Underwood told me on Tuesday that he will not make them practice the first week, which is next week, starting on the 28th. He wants them to have a full week in which they can get acclimated to their classes, to their schedules, to moving around, and then they'll get after it. And he's excited. I mean, he's been excited all summer. He's excited still. When I was in the gym, LeBron Black and Michael Finke were working with Orlando Antigua, and so players those were the first two guys to arrive. He said, I said, are players back yet? He said, no, not all of them. They don't have to be back until the weekend. But he said Kipper Nichols has been in the office every day. LeBron Black has been in every day. Michael Finke, of course, he lives in Champaign, so he's been there all the time. So that's pretty cool. Anxious for them to get started. And then finally, our podcast, which you can listen to beginning at 7 a.m. on Friday, tomorrow, or today if you're listening on Friday, will be available at herald-review.com and also through iTunes. And that is very well worth listening to, because I really believe to get to know Brad Underwood a little bit better, you need to know his relationship with a guy named Jim Kerwin. And a lot of people, when they saw Brad's resume, wondered, why would you spend 11 or 10 years in Macomb, Illinois, at Western Illinois University? Macomb is not exactly freaking Shangri-La, you know? And so I asked him about it, and Brad is a really good storyteller, and he tells the story and the relationship with this mentor who he values a great deal, and how he kind of shaped who he is as a coach, and so forth and so on. I think all of these conversations with Brad are interesting early as all of us get to know him a little bit better. That's why I went over to his office, was just to talk about kind of anything. I had to think of something, other than, hi, how are you? So the Jim Kerwin thing is something I always wondered about. So I asked him about it, and he talked about it a lot. And it was a good story. It's worth listening to. It's not really even an interview, because I'm just sort of sitting there like you will be in the podcast, listening and learning. So I hope you'll check that out at herald-review.com. That's all. We will be back next Thursday at 3:30. Sorry for the technical glitch at the start. I hope you're able to catch up, and talk to you later.